All right. Okay. And one of the strategies we did was tug of war. And I thought this was such a cool strategy because you can do this in 10 minutes as a quick warm up to really get kids thinking about some really, really, really easy topics to get them talking about some contested issues without things blowing up in your class. So let's talk about some stuff. Okay. So we're going to talk about exploring our values without things blowing up in our class. But let me first introduce myself. My name is Christine Hull. I am the program director of the Nevada Center for Civic Engagement, which is the organization that runs History Day, We the People, Project Citizen. We do a bunch of other stuff in the state. This is me. This is my family. I have a 4th grader, a 7th grader, and a 10th grader. I live in Northern Nevada. I am a former classroom teacher. I'm not currently in the classroom, but I'm still an educator. I do lots of things, including reheat my tea 17 times a day, run around, chasing these 3 kiddos. And I love working with teachers and supporting you all in the classroom every single day. It's my life's passion. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk about values today. So let's ground ourselves in the definition of values. And then I'm going to have you guys enter some important values about your school community in the chat, as well as introduce yourselves really quick. So a value is the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or useful of something. A person's principle or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what's important in life. Okay, so that's what we're gonna keep that definition of value and as our foundation, right? We want to keep this definition all together today. Does anyone have any questions about that definition? Feel free to just unmute yourself today. We're going to be super open. You're welcome to unmute yourself and talk. You're welcome to turn your camera on. We're not, yeah, you can just pop yourself in the chat. Because I'm doing double duty, it's hard for me to see the chat, and so feel free to just unmute and talk. It's fine. Oh, where did I? Oh, we went backwards. Hold on. Oh, where did it go? Hold on. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, that's where I wanted to be. So now I want to know about you. So what grade do you teach? And what is one thing that your school community values? So my younger 2 go to a K-8 school, and kindness is what they value above all. Like no matter what, kindness. They value kindness. It is really, really important. That is the foundation of their school, is kindness. Is there something in your school community that you value? So feel free to put that in the chat. I'm actually going to stop share so that we can all see the chat really easily. And then that will give me a chance to re-put the attendance link in there for everybody too. Not a teacher, magnet coordinator. Oh, I love that, but we value failing forward. Oh, I love that. Yes, because we're not perfect, right? We're human. So we want to learn from how we fail, right? I love that. Working hard, being kind, equality, justice. I love these things. Family. And that's really important, right? Because some people don't have, found family is really important because some of our students don't have the nuclear family right at home. So it's important that they understand that found family is really important too. Community, building community at school. is really important as well. Rigor, relationships, love that. Curiosity, so important. We've lost that just being curious, so super important. Love, 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 love. Working hard, being kind, perseverance, community, determination. Oh, I love this. I've got chills. That's so cool. Okay, I am going to pop the attendance link in the chat just one more time really quick for you all, because I know you want credit. Here's the attendance link. I see another one in here, determination. Okay, and we also have lots of age ranges. We've got K-5 art, we've got high school, special ed, we've got elementary, middle, all kinds. I love that. Thank you guys all so much for being here. It really means a lot to me. Okay. That did not share right. Hang on, sorry. Okay. So oh, I don't want to copy it. I want to present. Can you see that now? Just a thumbs up. Can you guys all see that? Okay. All right. Let's try it now. Hopefully it shares right. Okay. So I'm going to introduce the strategy. It can be used for anything. It doesn't have to be used for social studies. We're going to use it for a social studies strategy, the content is going to be actually a world history, but it can be used for anything. The strategy itself, the topic we're going to use is, should ancient artifacts be returned to their country of origin? So actually, I saw we have an art teacher here, so that could be used for your class too. So it can be used for, but the strategy itself could be anything. Hello, we have a new friend coming in. Okay. All right. So, and so our objectives today, just so you know, our goals are to integrate this strategy into your future instruction, for you to think about how you could do that, explore ways in which value influences our discussion about current and contested issues, and I'm going to share ways in which you can access resources, in which this strategy can, which you can use for this strategy. Okay. All right. Okay. So the length of time for this strategy is as little as 10 minutes. You can definitely use more depending on how much you want to dig into using technology for it, depending on where you want to go with it, how much discussion you want to use. You can use value cards if you've ever used value cards. I mean, you could really, really dig into this, and you could make it a whole day's lesson. So it's really up to you how long you want to make it, but you could also make it a quick introductory lesson. But the purpose is really to kind of look at the fairness of something that's kind of a dilemma question. And so the idea would be, you would want to be thinking about, if there was a question that you had about a topic, and there were what if I have questions about, or I needed to know more about, and there were pretty clear yes or no answers, but multiple yes or no answers about the topic, that would be when a tug of war would be appropriate, as far as having your teacher hat on. Okay, so this is our question. Should ancient artifacts be returned to their country of origin? And this is the Code of Hammurabi. It's currently on display at the Louvre in Paris, but it is originally from ancient Mesopotamia. And so we're going to attempt to break out into breakout rooms. We're going to try this, guys. And I'm going to give you guys a Jamboard link, and you are going to, you're going to try a tug of war. We're going to try this. Okay. When we did this, we were in person and we had links to, we were all on computers though. So that's why we thought this would work virtually. So, we're going to try this. So I'm going to stop share. And now I'm going to give you the Jamboard link. Don't you love technology? Okay, so here's the Jamboard link. So we have 17 people. Let's do Let's do 5 breakout rooms. It's just going to randomly put you guys in rooms, okay? And so if you're in room 1, you'll have like slide 1. If you're in room 2, you'll have slide 2 of the Jamboard. Room 3, slide 3. Does that make sense? Everybody? Yeah, okay. So in the Jamboard, you have the link there. You're going to just kind of pop up on the Jamboard your thoughts of the yes or no, and just throw your ideas on the board. We'll take like 3 minutes to just kind of decide. Okay. So let me open the rooms. Anybody else love it as a teacher when you get all excited and you like spend all this time prepping a lesson and then you like do this like really creative thing and then you present it to your kids and they all, it's like, wah, wah, and you feel like that teacher in Charlie Brown? Anybody else? And you're like, it just totally like flops because you share the view only link instead of the edit link for your Google Doc. No, just me. Sorry. Okay. Well, I hope you had a conversation. Because yeah. So anybody want to tell, should we just, what if I just put up the, let's just put up the, whatchamacallit, the Jamboard. That's the word, the Jamboard. We can just do it together. What if I do that? Because Jamboards can be fun. Does anybody use Jamboards? Or are we so over them after COVID? Did we get really sick of them? You can unmute yourself. It's okay. Are we all like spent after lunch? You guys are tired after lunch. You're like, it's Saturday. I'm tired. I get it. Okay. Should ancient artifacts be returned to their countries of origin? Give me some reasons why yes. Somebody shouted out a reason why yes. I can't read the chat and do my share screen. So if somebody could read what the chat said.
One of the gals in our group said yes, because she said that if it really belongs to those people and it allows them to get back something that belongs to their culture or heritage. So she said yes.
To their culture.
I think, yeah, something like that. I wish she would answer. I don't her exact language, but that was something along those lines.
Sure. Okay. Another one? I see some coming up in the chat. Would anybody mind being my chat monitor? Somebody.
I can.
Thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate that.
Yes, because many items were stolen or taken during occupation.
Okay.
Yes, they are special to those countries. They may not mean the same to someone else.
They may not mean the same. Okay.
Let me go back up. Yes. Did you already get yes because many items were stolen? I already read that one. Sorry.
Got the stolen. Yes.
Okay. But items could certainly be lent out with permission.
Oh, okay. So yes, but they could be lent to other countries with permission. So like the Louvre could have it with permission. Got it. Right. I like that. Okay. Anything else on the yes side?
I said yes if the country wants it back.
Well, yeah, they want it, right? Like that seems really simple, right? Like they want it back. Yes, they might want it back. I mean, wouldn't you want it back? Right? Okay. All right. Well, these are some, yeah, I mean, we could probably go like, can you imagine like kids just like coming up with a whole bunch of reasons, right? Like think about it. If you started with like sneakers, right? If you started with like Nikes or like AirPods with kids and you started with something that really, really mattered to them. And then you moved on to something like this with them. And then you really like dug in. That would be really interesting right? Okay. And then let's come up with a couple of no's and then we'll keep moving on because we'll run out of time. Okay. How about a couple of no reasons? What are some reasons for a no? Anybody come up with some good no's?
I said no because it's cool for it to be exposed to so many other people by being in a museum.
Right. No, more exposure in the museum. Okay. So when we were doing this, I said no, because the location, the current location is safer. That's what I said, right? Okay, any other thoughts?
That's what I was gonna kind of maybe say, is it might be too fragile to be moved back.
Oh yeah, right. Fragile to move. Okay. Any other thoughts on no? All right. Okay. And then these are some other things here, is where students could also be like, well, I have a question, like, what if, and this would be kind of this, right? Like, what if they could loan it out, right? That was that. Well, what if they could have it back, but then they could loan it out? And what if they could do this? And I have a question about what if the country's like a war-torn country and it's not safe to move it back? Those would be those kinds of opportunities that they could do there, right? Okay. I'm gonna go back to our presentation here. I'm sorry, I am moving through this a little fast because I do want to make sure we get to the teacher portion of this, so we can kind of talk through how this could work in your class, because I always like that part the best. Okay, so the procedure is getting students then into groups of 2 to 3. They generate the yes and no arguments, and then they share it out, right? And then they also generate the what ifs and more. Again, you can do as much as you want. You could also have them switch. You could kind of do jigsaw. You could have them pull together, and you can have an A, B, and C, and then they can build some more questions. You can have them share around. You can have students debrief and really find some strong arguments. You can have them do some writing practice. Those are some really, really strong ways to get them to build argumentation. So for those of you that are really working on your students' writing skills, those are great opportunities to do that. Again, if you're just doing this as a quick warm-up to do some oral conversation skills, you're working on oracy, that's okay too. But if you also want to take it a step further, that's great. Okay, so this is where I think it's a great opportunity to take it into values and take it into a foundational piece. And that's where that's why I brought up values at the beginning. And so I use the values cards a lot in my class. And this was a list that they came up. Does anybody read Brene Brown? Does anybody use Brene Brown? Or so she has this Dare to Lead project, and so these are her value. I had never seen her value list, and I really liked her value list, but there's also the value cards, which are fantastic, and I will share those in the chat with the resources. So I'll share this list, but I'll also share the value cards, and they're great. And that's a place that you can ground kids in evidence, so that it doesn't feel so personal, because talking about values can be very, very personal. And so obviously this conversation can get really personal. So this is a place that can be, this can get really tricky when we're talking about contested issues. And I know it's really, really hard when current events come up. Yeah, I don't know. That's tough stuff right now. You know, I don't know. I just, sometimes I have to pause and think, how would we even, sometimes I think a lot of times we just ignore it, and that's probably not helpful either. So this is a way to do that. Okay. So let me stop share for just a quick second, because I want to share those resources before I forget. Let me get back to the chat. I think I can do attachments, right? Yes. Okay. So while I'm finding those attachments very quickly, I'm curious, how do you currently handle sharing those kinds of, how do you handle doing current events in your classroom? What are you currently doing for when that comes up, when a student wants to talk about a current event? Does anybody want to share? Or are you just avoiding them? That's okay if you are. I'm just curious.
I don't do current events myself, but if a student, and it's always really random, mentions something, I'll be like, oh yeah, that. And then some kids, I was like, you guys know what that is? And I'll either let that student who brought it up say it, or a different student try to describe it. And usually it's kind of like really random, so we'll give it like a couple minutes and then we'll kind of keep going with whatever it is that we were doing.
Yeah, so you don't have a system for handling it. So you just kind of let them share it out and then move on. Does it ever get heated, or do you just kind of put a kibosh to it if it starts to get heated?
If it gets heated, it's usually between like individuals, but it's more like a side thing.
Okay.
So I let them get heated at each other
Mm-hmm.
in front of me, where I then have to tell them like, okay, like you guys obviously aren't agreeing,
Yeah.
and that's what it is. And you can keep talking about it, but now you just have to make sure you're not being like you're not coming at each other personally.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
like continue, and they can keep going with it, and that's fine.
Yeah. I know. I think it's, I really understand that it can be such a scary time to even, take on current events and contested issues in classes right now. But I think allowing kids that safe space, I think that's fantastic that you're even bringing them into your safe space, because they need to be able to talk about what's going on in the world, and giving them an opportunity to do that and grounding them in facts and evidence and argumentation is really important, and giving them source material and showing them how to use use this kind of evidence and source material is really, really important. So using values and using evidence. So, right, we like claims, evidence, reasoning. We like having kind of a format for sharing your opinion is really, really important. That's how I always showed my students. I might tell my children the same thing. I'm like, if you want to give me an opinion, that's fine, but I also need some evidence. I need some reasoning behind it, right? So I do like that. Let me make sure I share the choices. I need to check the time before. Does anybody remember what time this one's over? I'm sorry, you guys. Doing double duty.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Oh, we have
It's
plenty of time.
1:32.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I like sped through it because I was all worried. Look at me. I have plenty of time. I was all worried. I sped through it. I was all worried. Okay, so here's the choices program values cards, and then there's the values list. And so what I would do after you do the tug of war is then you would take those values, you would take either the values cards or that values list, right? Let me go back to my my presentation. Sorry. Let me speak from I should probably, be a good example and share from my evidence, right? here we go. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't like doing double duty. It's not easy for me. Okay, so let's go back to values. Okay, so then what you would do is, so then you would have the students do the tug of war. They really talk through all of these ideas of these questions and like, yes or no, we would do this. And then that's when they would either do some verbal argumentation and really start digging into the why, right? And so you'd want them to do it with some actual values and using some of these words. So you could either do it with the Choices Program values cards, the words from there, or this Dare to Lead from Brene Brown, this list of values. And so the idea would be that they would use these words and they would come up with, in their small group or personally, they would really look through this list and decide what are the most important values, right? What are the ones that matter the most? So if we're really looking at this idea of the Mesopotamian, the people of Mesopotamia. So what's more important? Is it that people should be able to see this artifact so that it should stay in the Louvre and that it's accessible to people? Well, then maybe future generations is the value that matters most. So then that's the word that we need to use in our statement. But maybe accountability is the value that matters most. So we would want to use that in our statement. So accountability for where the artifact belongs, right? Or I might have to keep moving my view thing. Let's see. Tradition matters most. And that tradition, we need to have the artifact be in its home country. It could also be that, I think somebody said that it needs to be in a safe place. So reliability, it needs to be in a place where it can be reliably in a safe place, right? So we can, depending on our grade level, maybe we're in a lower, in a fourth grade. So we want, students to use reliability. So that's where we would go with that, depending on if we want it to be a discussion. Maybe we want them to use it in a discussion. Maybe we want kids to hit on a certain number of words. And so you could have a rubric and you could have them mark off a certain number of words, right? So again, this is one of those really cool things that you could hit multiple times throughout the year and they could get really, really used to it because it's something that you do all the time. Is there anybody that does this regularly? I'd love to hear from you if you do something like this regularly, like you have like a word bank that you use. I know a lot of us do it with Accountable Talk. Do you already do this with Accountable Talk? Where like they have to use Accountable Talk, but do you do it with another kind of word list where they have to use any kind of academic talk regularly? I think it's a great way to make sure that we have kids feeling really confident in the way that they are bringing in that academic vocabulary regularly. So you could print a list maybe quarterly and put it in their binder, or have it somewhere accessible. You could make a poster and give it to them so that they're feeling really confident and that it's accessible to them. And then they pull it up. I used to do this and always have like a word bank. I would keep it minimal. This is kind of a big word bank. I would probably reduce this. and give them an opportunity to really, really see how they can pull some, more academic words in so that they feel more confident in their academic vocabulary on a more regular basis. Okay, so let's have a little teacher debrief. So this is where I want to hear from you guys. What would be the benefit of having more discussions about having about current and contested issues in your class? Why would you want to talk about current events in your class? I feel like we're all moving towards having less. Why would we want to have more?
I feel like you need to help the kids understand the different sides of every argument. And oftentimes from their peers or their at-home environment, they only hear one side. So they think there's only one right answer, especially I teach fourth grade. So working with the fourth graders to understand that there's two sides to every argument, and that doesn't necessarily mean any one is wrong, because so many times in our society now, everyone thinks that their side is the only right side and they won't recognize the other side. So teaching them to have honest debates with each other and understanding that there's another side to every issue and how to deal with other sides is important.
I love that. Yes. So important, right? And oh my gosh, especially in our world that we're so invested in, like social media, and the news is clearly not, it's definitely, we have media bias, right? There's no doubt about it that we have media bias, that, in our algorithms, that's very clear that we see one side of the information. So if we aren't showing them multiple perspectives in school, they're not getting multiple perspectives elsewhere, right? It's really, really important. I think we had one in the chat. What else do we have? And that it's okay that people have differences. Yes, that it's okay to have different opinions, right? How many of you set up norms in your class that's one of your norms, that it's okay that sometimes that we walk away that we have different opinions? Does anybody have a norm like that? I'm curious if you do that, like a class constitution or anything.
We talk about that even just when we're viewing artwork. We all have different opinions if we're going to like it or not like it, and that's okay.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, with art for sure. I mean, you can walk around an art museum and I can like something and you may not, but it's still art, right? I mean, I personally don't understand Jackson Pollock, but he's clearly an artist who is famous for a reason. Like, I'm not going to say he's not, but I wouldn't buy anything and put it in my house of his, but that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate it. I think that's beautiful. I love that. That's so important. Yeah, there's this all the strategies that street law has. They also have a norms creation, which I can have, we can get out to you guys, and they have a whole norms creation thing. So it's great. They did a really good job with us about that, but there's only so much time in the day for me to get everything out to you all. But yeah. What do you guys think about, handling clashing values? Like, have you had to deal with that in your classes? I'm curious. Like, I know my kids have had to deal with it in their classes. They have, we live in a pretty purple area, in particular. Like we live in an area that's like really, really divided, and in northern Nevada, and it's been really hard on my kids. Like they feel like they can't talk at school about anything, and we're pretty open about talking about this stuff because both my husband and I are pretty involved in this world of like civics and government. So it's pretty hard on my kids because they feel like comfortable talking about it, but they feel like other kids don't understand this. So I'm curious how you've handled that in your classes.
We have that discussion in my classroom, and they don't like President Trump. Some people don't like President Biden, but I tell them it doesn't matter. Like, they either were our former or they are. So like, we just need to respect both sides.
Yeah.
And I teach fourth grade as well, so obviously they don't know what's going on in this world, but
Right.
I'm not there to tell them which side they need to choose, but they need to respect both parties.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. And regardless, you have to respect somebody who is in the position. I think that's a great way to handle it. I like that. That's great. Okay, let me share a few resources with you, and then I think that you would be able to find that norms thing if I shared this with you. So on the street law website, you would be able to find, let me make this smaller so I can show this to you. So you're going to go to the store.streetlaw.org, and it's going to make it look like you have to check out, but you're not going to, it's all going to be like a $0, I promise. They have all these really great resources. So should voting be compulsory? And they're all different grade levels. They have really cool stuff. So they have deliberations, they have a bunch of different types of discussion topics that they're all kinds of things. And so you can see, this is just an example here of types of discussions, and they're all different grade levels. And so that's the website, store.streetlaw.org, and they it will look like you're checking out, but they're all free. I don't know, it's just the way that their website works. So check them out. They have really cool stuff. I was shocked. I had no idea. I swear I'm not being paid by them. I promise you. I was just so excited by all their stuff that when I just was like, I was really excited to share, and somebody had dropped out of this session and they asked me to fill in. I was like, I'm going to share some of the really cool stuff that Street Law shared at this at this conference with these guys, because I think that this is so important, because I know that teachers are really struggling with this topic. So some other really great resources that I love are SHAG. If you haven't done the SHAG stuff, the lunchroom fight, fantastic for doing this kind of stuff. Procon.org. If you also haven't done I will pull it up really quick, but the media bias chart, I will pull that up for you guys so you can see that. That's really helpful. The Constitutional Rights Foundation, and then those 2 sessions we just had just before this on the constitutional, the National Constitutional Center. They have tons of great resources. Newsela or NewsELA, I can never remember how they pronounce it. They've got great resources, more street law stuff. And then all the tug of wars, they have a bunch of different tug of war strategies on street law. And that's it for that. But let me pull up that media bias chart, because that's really cool. If you haven't seen it, it just reminded me how cool that is. It's from All Sides. And if you haven't used All Sides, that is another great source, because you can pretty much pull up like any topic about a like something that's going on in the media right now, and you can find out what's like how they're reporting on it. So this is kind of how things are slanted. So this is like super left, kind of leans left. This is center, leans right, super right. So this is where everybody kind of leans. I don't know if any of that is surprising to you or not, but you can then get information so you can do like a headline roundup. So this is the same topic, and you can get, now obviously this particular topic is probably meant more for like our older level, right? Like I wouldn't give this to second graders, but right, this is going to be this is the same exact topic, but this is like leans left and this leans right, right? But then, here's your headline roundup. This is from the right. This is the same topic, but this is what it looks like at different. Pretty cool. So if you wanted to really look at, but also this is kind of cool because if you want to make sure that you're looking center, to give your kids something more center, that's how you would do that. Okay. Questions on current events, sharing them, talking about them, using them in your class, anything I can help you with on that? I'm super happy to help in any way I can. I feel like I just like threw it all at you. I was like, let me just vomit all the current event stuff at you at one time. Sorry about that. I get really excited about sharing current events. Can I just say, try not to use just CNN 10. That's all I can say. That should not be your only way to incorporate current events in your class anymore. Anything else? All right, let me put here's the Scholastic News is great. I love that. Yeah, that website can still be used for younger kids because you can still like find resources to at least get like some ideas. So if you're looking for all sides, you can still at least get some ideas, and then you could go to like Newsela to find information. You can also go, I'm trying to think of some other places that you can go, like CNN, like for kids. I mean, CNN does tend to lean a little left, but you can still go to like CNN for kids. Let me see. Let me look at. So let's see. CNN. I mean, yeah, CNN definitely tends to lean a little left. It's left leaning. I wouldn't say, and then Time for Kids is also a little left leaning. I don't know if Time for Kids and CNN for Kids is considered left leaning though. I would have to look. I would need to look at that, but those are more lower level kids. Those are both, they bring down the reading level of their current articles. So you would want to find something that's maybe a little more central. The SHAG website, the Stanford History Education Group did this huge study on media literacy. They have a ton of stuff on media literacy. So definitely look up all the Stanford History Education Group stuff on media literacy. They have a lot of stuff out there on that. If you really want to dig into media literacy for kids and supporting them on that, that could be a whole nother, we could spend like an entire doctorate on that probably, but we don't have time for that because we're out of time. And I love spending time with you guys. I love talking about current events with kids because I think it's really, really important. And thank you for your time and letting me just share my excitement. I hope that you will feel inspired to talk about current events with your kids, because it's fun. It can be fun. It doesn't have to feel scary. You can find ways to do it. So start small. Start with things like a tug of war. Start with small little bits. Don't feel intimidated that you have to do a giant, Socratic seminar. You don't have to do something huge. You can do something really small. Do little bits and pieces until you feel ready to do something bigger. Okay? Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.